Hi guys, I'm Kelly, and now we're gonna have a look at the XM1 Tier 6 main battle tank before the new patches comes in and new balance comes in. So, XM is gonna be the new premium tank. I think it's gonna be the Tier 5 of maybe Tier 6, and it's gonna have similar or almost the same stats at the moment as it is. So what you can expect this tank, regardless of its changes. It has 380 millimeters of armor in the turret and 395 in the hull, with 209 millimeters on the turret side and 155 millimeters on the hull side. It has the 93 millimeters on the back of the turret, and in the hull is 85 millimeters of the armor. Now what you can expect to this thing actually is to have a couple of weak spots which are very prominent. First, AFVs. Armor fighting vehicles now need in the new patch to track this guy and get behind it and deal damage that way. Not for just for this thing, but for every main battle tank, because new patches will make those changes viable. If you run into this guy or are driving this thing, keep in mind these weak spots. Against main battle tanks or high caliber guns, this is your main weak point. This lower plate is actually so weakly armored that 2 shots in this area can easily detonate your tank and send you right to the garage. When I was with my Leopard, I always used to kill these guys with 1 to 3 shots maximum, just by aiming at this side. I think they got a bit buffed, but it still is a weak spot, and this thing relies on DPM or damage per minute to be alive and useful in the game. So, this is your first weak spot. This is your second weak spot. The driver is over here. If you can get the turret ring, it will be very good, because you can easily jam the turret with this thing. And this is the tricky part. This is not your commander's cupola, this is the commander's cupola. This is only the viewport, and if you fire at this mechanized part, you can only destroy his view range for a bit, but not to do direct HP damage to the enemies. So keep that in mind. If you want to damage this vehicle, this is your way where you are aiming it. Also, this turret is very strong. It's also sloped. 380 plus the sloping gives a lot of armor on this thing. The only way where the hull armor is good is frontal upper plate, but providing that the enemy is not looking down at you, so it doesn't have the flat side to fire at you. So this is gonna be the armor stats. Let's see the HP. HP is 1800 hit points, and it gives you somewhere in between the Chinese HP points and the Russian HP points. The penetration is 325 millimeters. In new patch, the same caliber of the gun will have almost the same damage, no matter if it's tier 5 or tier 10 or tier 1. The only difference will be the ammo, penetration values, gun accuracy, and the aim time. These are the soft stats that will be different from tank to tank. And the hard stats will be the penetration value. Damage will stay the same. So for this tank we have 325 millimeters penetration currently, and damage is 391, which gives us in this above 6.5 second reload time the damage per minute 3564. The cannon depression is -10 frontally and 0 on the back. Accuracy spread is 0.10, which is very useful, because when you're gonna aim at the enemy that has very good armor, you can actually snipe the hit points from the enemy by just getting his hatches, his weak points, and that's the best way to do. So we range not so good, somewhere in between. You know, the main battle tanks are not famous for that. Speed. This thing takes a lot to accelerate, 6.5 seconds to just get to the 32 kilometers per hour. Maximum speed is 72 kilometers per hour, and it's very good as a backup for your main brawling battle tanks, or to be in a good position when it can use a hold down position to hold the enemy advance. Also, it's a good thing to keep this speed in mind when you need to back up your lightly armored pushing tanks like the Stingrays and stuff like that. So what else do you need to know? Retrofits will be the intercom mark systems. Definitely, if they stay like this, I recommend intercom mark systems and the reinforced ammo rack as a must-have, because these two things will definitely improve your tank quite a lot. Intercom mark systems is always useful if you have 3 crew members plus a commander. That's 4 crew members minimum. So keep that in mind when you are placing your intercom systems on your tanks. Also, reinforced ammo rack, as I said before, this thing is a walking, talking ammo rack, so beware of that and reinforce your ammo rack before going to battle. Next thing that you need to do is choose a combination, experimental propellant, and I went with the gyroscopic stabilizers. You can drop the gyroscopic stabilizers and use the magnetic actuator to buff the damage of your gun. So, this is the retrofits. Now we need to go with the personnel. Your driver has two options. First is a spin to win to increase the whole turret rotation. Second thing is smooth right, which I definitely recommend. And after that, your gunner goes with the quick draw, which improves the aim speed, and I recommend the marksman for those sniping shots, which will be needed because 325mm of penetration in tier 6 is not very good, and considering it's gonna be a premium soon, so you wanna make those hits count. And last of all is one of the last basically is the loader. Now on the loader you have secured ammunition, which you can increase your hit points and ammo hit points by 40%, and you have also the explosive shells that gives you improved damage module by 20%, or you can drop the explosive shells and go for the pure rapid fire for 2.5% increase in the firing rate. Also, you have situation with your commanders. You can switch a couple of them. This time is Juan Carlos Myrmidon. You may want to go with the Freya, but I tend to use my Freya on the much more bigger guns and other tanks that have much more reload time. So I'll go with Juan Carlos Myrmidon or Viktor Kirsanov as commanders for this tank. So, those are the boring stats, and now let's jump into the game so I can show you how this thing is played. And now we managed to get a favorable matchmaking for our XM main battle tank. Now listen, XM doesn't take damage very well, as I said before. Don't go on the enemy frontally, don't charge them, don't expose your hull. Go hull down, keep your turret up, and use the gun depression to punish the enemy while hiding your commander's cupola. Also, don't give them sights of your turret. I think that's pretty simple for this tank, is it? Now let's see how the enemy takes those lessons. As I said before, the XM1 will be the new premium tank in the new patch, and it will be totally remodeled. Maybe the gun will have more or less penetration, more or less damage, but the essential gameplay will stay the same. Keep in mind on that. The gameplay that I can remember for this tank, which is similar actually to this tank, is the gameplay like for the Chieftain Mark 5, but the Chieftain has a bigger turret or commander's cupola on his turret, so keep that in mind as well. Now let's see. I'm here, hiding my lower glacis, hiding my hull as best as I can. I'm only peeking out my turret. Is the enemy gonna do the same? We almost had our shot on the enemy XM, unfortunately he backed off, and now the Chieftain is doing much more better job at hiding his hull, but he goes on the right side, and he takes quite a bit of fire on it. And now we have a situation, and we can use the options to aim at our enemy once they start pushing forward. If they don't push forward, this is considered to be a stalemate. And at the moment I'm just picking out a bit to provoke them. As I said before, right side of this cupola is not a hitbox, remember that. Enemy XM1 pulls a bit too far away, too far ahead, and I'm aiming at his commander's cupola. But unfortunately I cannot get him. Now the problem is with an even bigger Leopard 2 AV, tier 6 tank, which is pretty good on the turret and has a weak hull armor similar to the XM. As you can see right now, I managed to track the guy and even damage his ammo rack on my first shot. That's why I said this thing has a very bad ammo rack. Now we also have a couple of tanks there with Leopard that are going hull down, and we cannot get them if they are hull down, because the tanks with a strong turret cannot be penetrated unless you are hitting their commander's cupola. And I'm gonna show you on this poor XM just a bit forward. First I'm gonna actually shoot at the enemy Leopard 2 AB first, because I was trying to get his commander's cupola. Unfortunately it's much more better protected, and the guy is moving his cupola, so it's much more harder for me to hit it. Now the XM stays still, and he gets me that as I said, juicy part, which is between his hull and his turret ring. Actually, right into his turret ring, my shot goes and eliminates him out. So if you have that chance and that opportunity to shoot, instead of the Commander's Cupola, go for that chance. Now the enemy is doing pretty well. The Leopard 2, I must admit, he's doing the best he can. He's hold down and he's bouncing my shots. But I'm not stupid. I'm also being hold down and I'm also bouncing his shots. So he's switching targets, he's firing at the guys that are behind my back and trying to get them. And now I already tried to get the shot on the XM Cupola, but as you saw it, I missed. Yeah, I cannot be perfect, can I? Anyway, now we're gonna do something like pick a bit over the ridge, force the enemy to be interested in us and push a bit forward. Now there's the RT illumination shell. One thing which we won't see anymore in the next patch because they're gonna totally remove the RT from the game. Anyway, while in this gameplay, it provides us with a bit of insight how the enemy are handling the situation. So, this is where I try to guess where the enemy is gonna be. Unfortunately, they are popping out smoke, and I'm now provoking the enemy XM. I don't want to go push forward, because if I push forward, the enemy XM will spot me for the others, and the others will still be invisible in the smoke screen, and I'm gonna be destroyed basically. So I'm choosing to stay in one position, not to push blindly forward. Keep in mind that if you have a tank that's bad in the whole armor, don't push blindly forward. Keep your turret up and force the enemy to come to you, like that guy did just now. So he was playing great until this point. This point is where he basically missed up his opportunity and allowed us to punish him pretty easily. And that's one enemy Leopard, 2 AV down. Now the enemy lost another tank, and we can press this XM1. Now I'm trying to get his lower glacis. It hits my cupola, I hit the ground in front of him, and that's how I managed to screw up my shot. Anyway, I'm waiting now for my allies to back me up. They need to do the flanking maneuver and they need to draw his attention so I can easily aim and get his tracks out. And now while our allies are pumping shots into him, we just need to reload and finish this guy off. This is another XM down. So, you see just now how good the turret of the XM is and how bad his hull is. Basically, on this position I demonstrated how to play the XM1 and basically most of the tanks, low or high tier, which can be considered to have a very good turret. Now, if you are willing to pay attention to these things, you might be a great tanker one day. Because being in a strong position and defending and holding that strong position is much more useful than charging blindly forward. Of course, that doesn't mean that you don't need a scout or two. A brave scout in a good position, with a good tank in a good position, can turn the tide of any game. So keep that in mind when you're playing Armored Warfare. Now I'm still having my APCR loaded in because the enemy Terminator is a nasty guy to handle. Now, when I managed to do the shot over there, I'm still keeping my APCR loaded because I want to make sure that I hit the enemy Typhoon, but as you can see, the enemy Typhoon ran away pretty far away. Yeah, he is pretty far away and we cannot get him at the moment, so we're gonna let our team to finish him off. And that's a very decent victory. Notice, even if I lost this game, remember, just by being hull down, I could easily withstand maybe 2 of the enemy tanks without any problem. Turret will be a problem, or if they push together, that will definitely be a problem, like it was for our enemy in the XM1. So keep that in mind when you're playing with a tank that has a strong turret. So if you ever get into a situation to buy the XM1 or get it through some means, this is how you play it. Now we managed to do 2400 damage, 2400 experience spotting damage as well, with Master Gunner and the gold medal. And even decent amount of earnings, even if I was using purely regular account. Now, this is how you're gonna play the XM1. If you like this video, press like if you do. If you want to see more of my channel, subscribe, and I'll catch you all next time. See ya!